All right. Thank you all for joining on Pantheon Radio tonight. So, real quick, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off and kind of let everybody know, especially that are watching the stream via Twitch or listening via Pantheon Radio. This is going to be an interesting stream for me tonight. I'm trying things a little bit different. For the guys on Twitch, I'm streaming a little bit of EverQuest while talking through things, just to give them something to look at, while we're going. Plus, we're talking about quality of life changes tonight. So, I think this is a good baseline. EverQuest, we're looking at the P99 version right now. It's there's a lot of things on here that, whoops, I think could have been done better. So we'll bring that into perspective here. So I just wanted to kind of play it, or just have it kind of playing while we're talking through some things. But on that note, we have others that are listening via Pantheon Radio and not getting a chance to see this. So we want to make sure that this is also very entertaining and somewhat educational, I guess, for you all as well. This is a bunch of theory crafting opinions, just something, that me, myself, and anybody else that would like to join via Discord. I think we have Dayhawk with us right now. We might have a few others jump in during the conversation. If not, that's perfectly fine. I believe me and Day could probably talk for about 3 days. So I think we'll be okay. And for anybody that's asking as well, I know that we have had a few people ask about Muldoon, if he's coming back anytime soon. So I just want to kind of broadcast out there. So Mal is definitely, still trying to get back to the podcast as soon as possible. Of course, with everything that's happened over the last few weeks, he's also had some other stuff come up. So he's just trying to make sure that everything's in line and get, himself settled before he's back on the podcast. But we are definitely looking forward to having him back full time as the co-host. So for anybody that's curious about Muldoon, he is doing okay. He is still around. We will make sure we get him on here as soon as we can. I know you all miss him and want him back here, but in the meantime, we'll try to make it work with what we have. So just so I wanted to make sure that we had a few people asking about him, so I want to make sure everyone's aware of him. On that note, what's going on within Pantheon world? Well, not too many announcements. We didn't get to see the newsletter this week, so I would anticipate to look for the newsletter coming out next week. So for anybody that's interested, the May newsletter should be out next Wednesday. That would be my best guess. I can't confirm that, or I don't have any confirmation of that, but I would go as far as to say I believe, or strongly believe, you will see the newsletter. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you signed up, subscribe to that newsletter for Pantheon. Go to pantheonmmo.com. Make sure you check that out. And if you don't know how to do that, contact me via the post or links, the comments below in the YouTube video once it's posted up, via chat, via Twitter, via Twitch, wherever you can find me. Please let me know. I'll make sure to help you get to the newsletter so that you can get signed up for it. In the meantime, the one thing that is newsworthy that I do want to bring up is something dealing with Pantheon Radio. So I'm going to go ahead and link this in my Twitch channel for everybody watching on Twitch. And it's a early head start, I guess you could say. Not really. It's just kind of like an early heads up of what's to come within Pantheon Radio. So Pantheon Radio is doing this, it's pretty cool, competition, and they call it the Pantheon Radio Treasure Hunt. So what they're doing is every day for now until forever, during the epic sections of the the radio. So if you're looking at the radio schedule, if you go to pantheonradio.com and look at the radio schedule, you will see an epic section or an epic listing there in the schedule. During that time, they are going to be giving 8 words away. So these 8 unique words will combine to create a sentence. The example they used here is 1 word may be Kenobi, 2 word may be me, 3 hope, 4 my, 5 help, 6 your, 7 only, and then 8 would be Obi-Wan. So you would have to then rearrange those words into a meaningful sentence. So you would come up with the help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And whoever's the first one to come up with this sentence, who's ever the first one to reply back with all the words in the correct sentence format, will be rewarded, and this is pretty cool, with a $300 Amazon.com gift card. So guys, they're really going out of their way to try to make this worthwhile for you, fun. Please check this out. This is really cool. So if you're listening on pantheonradio.com, go ahead, type in pantheonradio.com/treasure hunt and check out what's going to be posted. This is going to be announced and posted up tomorrow, actually. So it's we're getting just barely ahead of the rest of everybody so that you're aware of it. But it'll be posted up tomorrow, begins at noon tomorrow. So anybody that's listening to Pantheon Radio, this is going to begin at noon tomorrow. Everybody here on Twitch, make sure you check out the link that I posted in Twitch. And again, this is going to be a really cool thing. I like what they're doing with this, encouraging you to listen to the Pantheon Radio. Again, they do a phenomenal job with the radio themselves, but they're also giving you an incentive, a reward, a lot of good times. And what time zone is that? So that is noon Eastern Standard Time. So Thursday, the 10th, May 2018 at noon Eastern Standard Time. That's when this begins. So be sure to check that out. Again, check out the link that I posted there. It's really cool, guys. I'm so happy for these guys. They're doing a phenomenal job with everything they've got going on. They're really helping bring the community together of Pantheon, bringing some great content creators together. It's just, I can't speak highly enough of what they're able to do in such a short amount of time, it seems like. So the new, I think the new app for Android was actually released as well. So they've got the new app for Android, the new app for Apple or iOS, and they've also got the competition going on. So, wow, this has all happened in the last month or so. So again, look forward to that. Hopefully everybody's listening as well as I will be. So if you beat me to it, good on you. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be on there pretty frequently myself. I mean, $300, that's no shabby prize giveaway. So, best of luck to everyone. Hopefully everyone jumps on, listens to the Epic section. It's by far my favorite section. So I will definitely be tuning into that as much as possible. And past that point, as far as announcements go, again, guys, check out the newsletter next week, most likely, and make sure you're signing up for the pantheonradio.com/treasure hunt giveaway that they're doing, or you're entering that treasure hunt. So let's move on to the podcast. So Day, buddy, I'm so happy that you came prepared, because I did a little bit, but it was more mental prepared than actual writing stuff down. Day, obviously better at this than I am. So Day wrote down some stuff and came up with some ideas. Now, tonight I wanted to go over a little bit like quality of life changes, improvements. I heard in the Hive Leader stream the other day, he said, if you liked EverQuest, you will like Pantheon. And he was talking about, the old school EverQuest, of course. It's changed many, many times over the years, but he was referring to, if you liked the old school feel of EverQuest, when it first came out, then you will like what Pantheon is now. And that was his experience when he played. So, of course, I believe that there's going to be improvements, enhancements that come about from what they have now on the base. But I think that that's a really comforting comment to hear. But with that, I wanted to kind of think of some of the things that, for me, when playing MMOs over the years, I've seen improve. I think the gameplay, the social aspect, and then just the style, I guess you could say kind of slow-paced combat system, where it's not so spammy, you're not rolling your face on the keyboard. It's a little more strategic. Again, the slower-paced combat has always been a little bit more intriguing to me. I like the social aspect. So with that, that in other MMOs wasn't so much quality of life improvement, the faster game pace. So I like that they're bringing that type of feel back from what I've seen in the streams. Now, there are some other things, though, that I saw in other MMOs that were definitely better done. And, technology's changed. There's just been enhancements overall with general UI layouts and the look and feel of what players want and need when it comes to playing. But there was always a lot of little things that make up the whole experience that you don't really think about until you see it done differently, or you stop and go, man, this could have been done this way and it would have been so much better. So I want to talk about that a little bit tonight. And Day, I didn't know if you want to start us out tonight with anything specific. Was there any one on your list that you thought might be a good kind of opening for us?
I like the idea. This could be considered a feature, but considering, I played in EverQuest and how I am with most games, an in-game journal, just a basic notepad that you can write in and you can access out of game. It just gives you the ability to make the text bold or italics or underline. So I don't need to keep paper around my desk or have to constantly write stuff down. Something that I can do in game, I feel is a huge quality of life improvement. I don't need a quest track or anything like that. Just give me a basic notepad. Like I start with a journal on my character. Maybe it's an icon on the bar or something that I open up and I can write in. That way I can keep track of my own quests. I can write notes in there and stuff.
That's very interesting that you bring that up, because I know when thinking about that, that was one thing, we heard in the stream, and I believe it was Cooper Trooper. So we heard in that stream that they talked about, or actually it was Lass, I'm sorry. It was with Lass. And Lass brings up the fact, he goes, so there's not going to be any maps. And the comment basically was back, there could be maps, and not really, let me rephrase that. No mini map, but there could be a map, and if there is, then the map would be very generic in shape. It would be something that maybe unfolds before you, and maybe something you actually can open up and then write on yourself or put placeholders in. And we talked a little bit about like maps and things like that in the past as well. Maybe something where you could freehand a little bit is what I'm getting at with the whole map thing. And that kind of goes back to your journal piece as well. I don't know. I think something like that would be neat. I don't think it's too far of a stretch. I don't have a problem with that. I'm trying to think of when I would utilize it the most, and what would go into it, because again, those pieces of note paper for me, I really like that. But if I'm thinking of like a Word document for say, that really doesn't do what I do on a piece of paper. Like it would almost have to be, I know this is weird, it would almost have to be something to really make a difference for me, as free as like just a paint document where I can put text there. Or I can use like just my mouse to draw something, because I do a lot of freehand drawing when it comes to paper. Like I'll be like, oh, this thing looks like this, just to kind of make myself help remember things, especially when it comes to like gear items and stuff like that. If I'm like looking for a specific mob type or something, like I'll even try to sketch it out, just like a really nasty looking sketch out of, hey, this is the rock I'm looking for, this is the tree I'm looking for, or hey, if I take the path and go like up this way, then that's going to be something that, or this is where I need to be at. Like I'll do that on a piece of paper. So if I went with something like that, I would have to say that would be something interesting to me, but I'd have to look at how far can you take that? Can you take it to where it's just like a generic paint option, or does it have to be just like a Word document where it's just words that you can just type into a journal?
See, I figured, we kind of have already talked about their stance on the map and kind of where they're at. That if they decide to do something with maps, that maybe that's later, an expansion or something. But for like the base game, having an in-game journal to me would really, for me, it would be immersion almost. Because it's just something that if I hear rumors or something, I can jot something down. If I'm working on a quest that I've done through the, what's it called, system that you discover stuff? Perception system. That, you could jot things down as you're going, that you can keep stuff. And being able to access that when you're out of the game, in case you want to create a better Word document or post it on a website or post it in your guild or something, you have that. You don't technically have to be in the game to access it. But when you're playing the game, I'd rather just be able to click a button, have it pop up as a journal in game that I can write in. I would love that idea. Being able to draw and stuff, I could do that on a piece of paper. Maybe that's something they could look at later, but just a basic journal.
Okay. I mean, I think that.
At the same time, from a role play standard, that would be very interesting, because people could be like day one and they could write out a story that they can copy and post on their website, and that's lore and stuff that they could post. That would be huge for them.
I really like the thought of kind of tracking my days. Like, hey, today I did this. Like my own little diary. I gotta admit, I'm gonna be a little nerd about it. I really like that thought, because man, there have been days, and I stream for this reason. Like I told people before that I started streaming because I wanted to remember some of those great memories I had when I did things, what I was actually doing, type stuff like that. But for me, a lot of times what I'll end up doing is I'll try to write down something that I did that day, or if I did something on a certain day, I would try to, hey, today we did this. Like, this was a really cool experience. We completed this, something of that nature. I think having a way to document that in your game with your character would be really neat. And just something very simple, very generic, just, hey, today, day 376, like we did our first raid and we wiped terribly and spent the rest of the night doing a corpse run. Like, just something real quick for me would be great. Just to kind of keep for memory's sake, so that maybe, and for all time's sake, I could go back and I could read through it and go, wow, man, I had no idea what I was doing. Again, I think that's really neat. I really like that. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it has different uses. People can use it different ways, but just the fact that the tool is there for a lot of us old gamers, we're used to writing stuff down because there was no quest logs, no quest trackers. A lot of the times back then, you couldn't even find it on the internet. All that came later. So there was piles of stuff. There's people that kept folders and all kinds of stuff. But I think having that in the game would be a really cool quality of life feature that not everyone's going to use, but it's a tool that's there that anyone can use, and you can use it however you want. You can keep a role play journal of your adventures while you're playing this character, or maybe you could just write down a couple of goals that you want to do, so when you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, you know where you were. I think it's a quality of life that I would very much like to see in the game.
Yeah, and that's one thing you brought up there. So maybe writing down, hey, I was doing this and I would really like to do this tomorrow, type thing.
Or keep track of players that are not of the best standards, or keeping track of people who are very good trackers, because sometimes you can meet someone that's very awesome, love to group them with again, but time goes by and you meet them again and be like, man, I recognize this person, but man, I can't remember. To pull up that journal and be like, oh, I grouped with him before. Yeah, I vouch for this guy. It could be used that way too.
Yeah. So let's bring that up, because that's actually something that I really did want to talk about when it comes to quality of life improvements. I'm looking at I'm on P99 right now, so we're playing, and I have a friends list, which, oh man, the friends list in early EverQuest days was
it was special.
I mean, it is what it is, but I would absolutely, and I know that we've seen it in other games that have come out. There has been so many improvements to things like the friends list and things of that nature. It's just one of those things where I can't wait to see improvements around that. Keeping up with friends, with enemies, potentially. Keeping up with, like for me, it goes down to, I would love to be able to create, like you said, the notes, but I would love to have I could do like a friends list, and I could have it to where I could filter it or sort it in some way, shape, or form. I could have like friends that I play with on a nightly basis, friends that I play with or played with once, and I could add like a quick note to that. Just something simple, just to let me know this was my experience with this person. This is the character this person played when I played with them, and this is my experience with them. On that note, Mass said that he wants to chime in real quick. Mass, are you in Discord, buddy?
Yes, I am.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Actually, on that note, I think what would be cool is if as kind of like a personal profile type thing, you can kind of put in what you're doing, like just a little sentence or blurb, and it'll show up on people who have you friend listed. Like, crap, this guy's doing that dungeon. maybe I'll see if I can get in on that. Or, oh, you're looking for that item? Let me come help you.
I like that. I like that.
Something kind of like how the friends list is in Path of Exile, where you can right-click someone, and I think it's in the guild tab, where you can create a note where you can write your own note. No, it is in a friends list because I put the name of who they are that I know them as, because sometimes I don't recognize their character name. But you also have like up at the top where you can add a note to yourself that's broadcast to everyone on your list, so they know what you're doing. Yeah, like a status.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool improvement and a great way to make connections on what you do.
Yeah, I mean, coming to mind, instead of broadcasting in the chats, in the zone chats and stuff, hey, looking for a healer for this. If you've got friends on your list, you could put that in that status, looking for a healer for, and put in the name of the dungeon. And it would be broadcast to them, a little pop-up or something in the corner. It doesn't have to be big, but just a little pop-up that they see that, Dayhawk, dash, looking for a healer for, dungeon or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I have a thing here. So Night Owls in Twitch here says video game social media, and I see you get the facepalm emoji, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say this: EverQuest back in 1999, 2000, 2001, even for me, was social media. That was my social media. I mean, I wasn't getting on, I didn't care about all the other social medias out there. I only cared about what was going on within EverQuest and my EverQuest friends. That was my form of social media back then. So so I mean, as far as like, video game social media, absolutely. I'm not even gonna lie. That's absolutely, that's exactly what I'm saying. I would love to see to where that's a thing, because that just helps me feel more connected to the players that I'm experiencing the game with, and it helps me get a better understanding of who those people are, get to know them a little bit more. And that's the type of experience that I want. I want a social experience. I want a social interaction. I want people that I'm able to play with and have good good times with and good social interaction with on not just a one-time basis, but on a nightly, reoccurring basis, or even every so often we run into each other and we're like, oh, hey, remember that time we did this? Hey, let's go do something tonight. That's the type of experience that I would love to see come back, personally. WoW, here we go. So Sassy Pickle, wow, Sassy Pickle, I like that name, by the way. WoW has something like that, and it says broadcast on the person's profile until they change it. So WoW does something like that through Battle.net, and I don't have a problem with that either, personally. Now, it gets a little tricky when you get into the account versus the player. So I'm interested to see how that, okay, let me ask you this on quality of life improvements. Is it a quality of life improvement to be able to, let's say I'm friending somebody, I'm becoming a friend with them. Let's say that I want to add them as a friend on their character. Perfectly acceptable. Would it be a next step quality and life improvement to be able to add them via their account? But not have to do one or the other, be able to do either? And I think other games have done this.
Yeah, it's actually on my list that I have here, something along these lines. But I think when you add someone to your friend list, it should definitely add the account, and it doesn't matter what character that person's on, you should be able to message that person.
Well, the one caveat I have to that is I want to see it accepted by the other party. I would personally I personally would love to see if I have people adding me. Again, guys, I'm not a big streamer. I'm not, but I know there are big streamers out there. If I am a person of interest, we'll say that, and someone is able to freely add me by my account, so that every time I log in, no matter what character I'm logged in as, I get the same bombardment of information and tells and whatever from people who have me added, that I have not accepted as a friend, but just have added me, then, I mean, I feel like having a way to accept or acknowledge that you are at a account level friend with that person, that's something that you're willing to accept no matter when you're logged on or not. They can see your status and they can contact you, via your account. I think that that's something that I have absolutely no problem with, but I just think that, again, I would like to see some sort of limitation on it to help people who are looking to just, kind of keep tabs of you and things like that. I would love to see where you accept them on an account level. On a friend level, I don't have a problem with it. On a character level, I think that if they know my character name, then they know my character name.
My thoughts on that is when you add someone, it would add the account, but maybe as a hidden tag, the original character that they were on that you added. And then as an individual player who might want to not broadcast that, have that as an option in the options that I can disable that they can only see me on the character that they invited me on. So if I have that checked and I added Saicred on his character named Saicred, when he's on that character, I see him. But when he's on his other character, it shows offline to me.
I only have one caveat about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Say I'm in two different guilds. I'm a person who likes to do a little bit of everything in the game. I like to just have chill nights with my friends. I like to do major raiding, and I also like to do role playing. And I might have several different characters for different things. And the last thing I want is to open up the possibility of, oh, well, if you're going to be in our raid guild, you have to give us access to all your characters. We have to be able to contact you so we know you're not hiding during raid nights.
I mean, so we have so Jameson and so did Day having a way to make yourself, quote unquote, invisible.
Okay, so like they can still see your characters, but it will show as offline.
Well, and so again, other things do this. So Steam does this as well, where you can do an offline version or an invisible version, where basically it shows that, basically if people go to look at your account, it doesn't show that you're doing anything. It has no indication of what game you're playing, whether you're on the game or not. It might show that your character's logged in online, or not character, but it might show that you have Steam open on your computer, you're quote unquote online. But I think you can even hide that. So I think there's possibilities. There's a way to hide that. But at the same note, I would love to see it to where, like you said, it just shows offline. It doesn't say hidden. It doesn't say, it doesn't show any indication that you're actually trying to hide or not be seen for the night. And I think that it's not really for me. I don't care about the whole rating thing because I have my own thing. So I'm not worried about that. But I do think that, for example, if I am trying to get on for a night and just sit in town and do nothing, and I just want to be discreet about it, or I'll be honest with you, even if I want to create a new character and just go run around and just, have fun, do some fun things where people don't know who I am, but maybe I've got a lot of gold or funds or something like that, and I'm able to kind of distribute that out at low levels to a bunch of random people I meet that are nice to me. I would love to be able to do just kind of weird, quirky things like that, where people don't know who I am, but I'm able to go out and make a difference, in the community and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't want it to be like I'm logging on and people can see, oh, he's hidden. Oh man, why is he hidden? What is he doing? Stuff that defeats the purpose. If I don't want to be seen for the night, then I want it to just look like I'm not there. I'm not online. No big deal. So again, I agree with you. I think that having some way to make it so that it's an option, that does sound like a quality of life improvement or feature for me. Overall, this whole thing sounds like a huge feature, but it really these things have already been put in place by other MMOs, and we're just saying that for Pantheon's sake, we would love to see these in as quality and life enhancements, because we anticipate, or at least I do, some sort of friends list, even if it's /friend. And wow, oh, it's not going to show up. Yeah, it is. Okay. Even if it's like a /friend where it just shows you this generic name, which it's pretty bad. But even if it's that, we expect some sort of friend list potentially, or at least I do. I would hope that I have some sort of list that I can put for my quote unquote blacklist. If I'm having a social open world game, I really have to have some sort of way to document kind of those individuals that have done wrong, or to me or others that I know. I have to be able to kind of keep track of those so that I know that when I'm putting a group together, a raid together, whatever it is, I know who I can trust and who I can't based off prior experience. And I'm not saying that because I want to blacklist everybody in the game. I'm just saying that because there are those individuals out there who just, you have to just put yourself apart from and just keep them at distance so you don't have to deal with them. So I would love to be able to make sure that I have a list for that. Stuff like that.
So actually, before I head out, that kind of brings up a feature they just introduced in Overwatch, which is the avoid player feature. And the idea there is that any sort of matchmaking or whatnot will keep you from being paired up with that person entirely. I don't think Pantheon plans to do matchmaking in any way currently, but the game's still a long way out. And I think if they were doing, having a blacklist where it would specifically not pair you with those people would be nice.
Well, okay. So yeah, I don't think they're going with the route of matchmaking, but I do think they're going the route of finding or offering a solution for you to find meaningful connections with people. Meaning, so like if you're looking for group, you can put it on a list, and that list will show you people that are most likely to, kind of relate to you in some way, shape, or fashion or form. Whatever they put on their kind of, I don't want to say resume, but whatever they put on their information out there, the system I think they're wanting to put in place will help connect those people that would potentially have the best chance of having some sort of meaningful, fun, engaging interaction that would last, or that would create something that would last, a little bit longer term. On that note, yeah, if I had, hey, here's my blacklist, here's the people I don't care if we match up, like I don't care if everything in the world tells us that we should be best of buddies, I don't want this person to show up on my list of people that are looking for group or looking to get into, some sort of anything for the night. Like if I don't want them to show up at all. I just want them to be completely removed from that filter, like filtered out. I think that's the key for me, so that, when I'm scrolling through the list, I don't even have the possibility of clicking on them and then going to send them a whisper to say, hey, would you like to see me? Would you like to group and go do XYZ? I would just not like to see them at all from that point on. So I think that's the kind of gist of it for me when it comes to the blacklist. Something where I can just kind of put somebody on ignore and just say, okay, I don't have to deal with that person anymore. I can't communicate with them. They can't communicate with me. No harm, no foul. And if anything else comes about it, if there's any other thing that has to be dealt with past that point, then it becomes a customer, solution type issue. So not our customer service type issue. And so, that to me is where I lie at that. I would love to see some sort of list I can just add people to, and then throughout the game, anything that I do within the game, it'll help kind of make sure that I don't want to say shielded, but make sure that my interaction with that individual is no longer there. Let's see here. Do we have anything in chat that's showing up? I want to make sure that I'm reading through this. Okay, so I don't see anything in chat coming up, so I'll go ahead and continue on. Guys, I'm open for feedback. I'm open for ideas. I love hearing what the community has, wants, needs. I like talking about this stuff because I think it's a great opportunity, a great time to talk about this stuff. A lot of this stuff I do believe the developers have already thought through and are already looking to implement. I don't think I'm saying anything that's absolutely new, but I think some confirmation and just, reiterating some of the things that may be known already are completely okay, especially at this point in the life cycle of development. It's good to have some confirmation come from the community saying, oh, they would really like this. I'm glad that we're developing it. That type of stuff. So again, if anyone has any ideas and things like that, I mean, we're just out here having a good time. We're just talking about some of the different quality of life features that we have, We're more than open to receiving feedback. So if anybody's in Twitch that has some feedback that would like to chime in, anybody would like to jump in Discord anytime, let me know. We'll try to get you in here. We try to make it sure that it's an open mic, a respectful environment, and we can have a respectful conversation. There's always differences of opinions that come out in certain conversations. This one tonight, I don't know if it's going to be too bad. But on that note, so Day, what else you got on your list, buddy? Anything else that stood out to you?
Yeah, well, going off what we just talked about, something that they can do when they start implementing guilds and stuff is better organizing the guild members list. Like, let's say you join my guild and you bring your 3 alts. Instead of having it in the guild window where it shows you and your 3 alts all there, why not have like a plus sign out beside your name? And whenever you click it, it will list all the alts that you have in the guild that's been in the window. It'd be tabbed over so that I can clearly, with my eyes, tell, okay, Saicred joined with this character, and these are the alts that he brought with him. I would actually like to extend that out and even say that alts wouldn't count against the cap that you could have in the guild if that's possible. Like, it would add accounts, not individual characters. So like, if you, let's say the guild limit was 60 members, and you brought your character and 3 alts, you would still be counted as 1. And no matter what character you were on, if they were in the guild, if I tried to message you, all I had to do was just click that first name that's on there. I wouldn't even have to extend that list, and it would automatically send the message to the character you were on if you were online.
I do like that. And speaking of guilds, I'm going to bring this up because Vex brought this up, and I hope it's okay, Day. It's kind of on the same lines with what you're talking about. I think it goes a little bit in line with what you're saying as well as Vex is saying as far as quality of life. I love the thought of keeping a guild accountable for their members, for their actions, for their community, for their server. If you go to the extent to create a guild, if you're a guild leader, if you're a guild officer, you're putting yourself in some sort of leadership position, and that leadership position, whether it's in the guild or, if it's in the guild, then it's basically a leadership position on the server, in my opinion, as well. You are stating that you would like to be a leader of sorts, and you would like to set a good example. You would like to show your guild what they should or shouldn't be doing that would make a positive impact on the community as a whole. That's my thoughts. With that, Vex brought up a point that one of his favorite things about EverQuest was being able to type in the /who and the guild name and seeing basically a list of all their guild members, which would allow you to send them a message and say, hey, just let you know so-and-so's over here kill stealing from everybody. Or, hey, just let you know so-and-so had just ninja looted XYZ item out of this, pickup raid. So that they could hopefully address that internally within their guild, for one. But also, if they're not willing to address that, like if they're not willing to deal with something like that, like for example, again, if streaming video, like recording video games is so easy nowadays. The thought of somebody ninja looting or KSing somebody and it not being recorded is actually a little more slim in my book than it's more of a reality than not in my mind. Maybe it's just because I do it on a daily basis, but I think that there's always, in every group that I come across, there's probably going to be somebody either in or near that group that's streaming or recording in some way, shape, fashion, or form, especially nowadays. And then going forward, it's probably going to become more abundant as computers become more bulky and this streaming software becomes even less intensive on your PC. I see it becoming, one of those things where people might just like recording stuff to put on YouTube or just for themselves, or just in case they have to put a ticket out there. They like to have the recording of it. I don't know. But I think that it's going to be something that just continues to grow. So if I'm looking for a guild member or an officer of that guild to say, hey, I just want you to know that Day over here has been just kill stealing for the last 30 minutes. We've asked him nicely to leave like 40 times. And he repeatedly is intentionally, doing XYZ to either train us, kill steal us, like do all this stuff. We're like, I just want to let you know what this guy's doing. Then I would love to be able to show or to present that to the guild officers, and hopefully they do something about it. And if they don't, then I think that's another issue altogether. But at least I have the opportunity. In most games I see nowadays, you don't even know who that officer is. You don't even know who the guild members are. There's no way to really find out. And that to me, I think, is a really good quality of life improvement that was done in the old days. That was kind of gotten rid of in the newer MMOs. I like that a lot. The /who guild name. I love that idea. So, yeah, let's see here. So what else we got? Anything on that comment, that topic, like that you can think of, Dave? Because I know you were talking about that, but I do like the single name for the guild, or that even goes kind of with the friends list as well for me.
Yeah, well, I figured the friend list would probably have that system, something along those lines. But for being an officer in a guild before, having to remember who's someone's alt. Because back in EverQuest, you could classify someone as an alt or remember there being a tag for alt. But a lot of times you couldn't remember whose alt it was. And you would spend message after message going back and forth trying to figure out who this person is and stuff. That's time consuming. That's something that could easily, in today's games, be fixed. The character you join, that's what shows up in guild. If you bring an alt in, maybe it's just as simple as assigning that character to the status of alt and then assigning whose alt that is. And then it adds the plus sign out beside it. So when you hit that list, it goes down. But having that message system where you can just click that one name and message, and it will automatically go to whoever on that list of main and alts for that person, it to me is a huge improvement. So, if you join with Saicred, but you're on your other character, Billy Bob, I could just message Saicred and it will go straight to you.
Yeah. I would love to be able to do something like that where, I could put some sort of alias in there. So every time I message, Dayhawk, it goes to you regardless of what character you're on. But I think that goes back to the conversation of as well on the account name versus, just character name, that type of stuff. But aliases are important to me just as well as anything. I love shorthanding things. If I have a bunch of people I play with on a nightly basis, I would love to be able to shorthand that in some way, shape, fashion, or form that allows me to easily communicate with them. Especially if I have some friends who have some of those names, and you're just like, man, can you come up with something shorter? Like typing this out is just a pain. Even though I've typed it out a million times, just typing it out's a pain.
Yeah, see, we talked about this earlier. Quality of life improvements to me is something that saves time, takes away a nuisance or some annoying factors, or offers a way to better organize things. That to me is quality of life improvements. Everything else to me would probably fall into the feature category, something that maybe they can do later.
Okay, so on that note, speaking of quality of life improvements, I have a question for you, and this is something that for me, I've had mixed feelings on it. I'm not sure where I sit on it just yet, so I'm gonna ask you and see what you think, because I think it can go a couple ways. Bags. So I've done this myself in EverQuest now. I could go into a bag and I open up a million different bags, and I have just craziness. The slots are all there. They're all present, but I have to actually go into each individual one and open and close it to see faces, like all this different, all the different little things that are going on. Do you think bags should be their own individual window, or do you think they should just automatically combine them into one mass window?
I've played games where I've seen both of them done. I personally like the way it was done in EverQuest, where bags had their individual slots. When you press I is what I assign the key. So when you bring up the inventory window, all your bags would open at the same time. I like that. One of the things though that I found very annoying was a lot of times there was things that just couldn't go into a bag because of different sizes. Like if you had a bag and it was categorized as medium and you had a sword that was considered big or large, it wouldn't fit into that bag. And with all the different things that are possible in the game, you always ended up, I mean, I learned in time always leaving at least one inventory space that did not have a bag in case you had one of those items for that. That's something from the old school MMOs that I feel like needs to be addressed. I don't know how they or go around to doing it, but inventory was a huge issue in a lot of the old school games. I think most games nowadays, if you got a backpack, it's just slots, and you can fill them up with whatever you want inside of them. The size categories doesn't matter. If you had a giant's toad, you could put it into a pouch. I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on both, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
Okay, so what Flea brought up here was individual bags allow for separate weight reduction per type of bag you have. Absolutely, I agree, but I also think that if I had a mass window that showed up, I think there would be a way that I could characterize some of those slots, whether it's a small percentage sign on the top saying these slots are for my bag that gives X, like 5% weight reduction. Like, I think that there's a way you could show that in a mass screen, like just one box, because that was one of the things that I did in WoW. That's one of the first things I ever did as soon as I figured out how to do it, was I got an add-on that basically put all my bags into one view. Because one of the things that I had the most issue with was whenever I went to do something, having to go through and open and close different bags at different times, especially when you're like combining mats and materials and when you're moving things around to organize them better, like, and then not to mention when you get to your guild bank or your bank as a general, and you've got like 14 different bags open, you don't know which one's for the bank, which one's for your character. Like, you've got all these different windows open. It's just covering your entire screen. I would love to see a quality of life improvement for me on that. Would be just a way to simply have those show on, the same screen, like all my inventory space show there. Yeah, Flea said something like a color code, something of that nature. Yeah, just something simple just to show you that, hey, these bags offer weight reduction, or these spaces offer weight reduction. Put your heavy items here. Something simple like that would allow me to do that. But also then when I open up my bank, having a way to see the same view and to kind of I can put them side by side. I can see what else on my bank, what else on my character, be able to, move those around very easily and organize them in a way that makes sense to me. I guess that's one of the things that kind of drove me crazy, and it still drives me crazy today, even with playing, EverQuest P99 version. It's still the same way where you have the bags, they're individual. I really wish those were combined to show everything you have. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Maybe that's an option that you can turn on.
Yeah. I'm all for toggle. If there's if there's a quality of life option that just says make sure everything's toggleable, like you can toggle everything, then yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, I can see them doing that where you have an option that you can toggle on that combines all your bags, but your character's space in your inventory would not be in that list, just the bags you're carrying, and it just opens up as one bag with all the slots that's available. I can get behind that. So people like me who may not be interested in that, would like them individually bags, has the option for that. Or someone, let's say you, who would like just one giant bag, there's the option for that. And something else, because I just remembered in Ultima Online, depending on the bags in the game, each of them came with a carrying capacity. So you could only put so many items into certain bags. So if you were a miner and you were out mining and all you had was a pouch, you couldn't carry that much because a pouch could only carry so many ores. But if you had a backpack, you could carry a lot more. Maybe that's something they can implement instead of what we saw in EverQuest, where certain bags had a size determination to it. So if you had a large item, you couldn't put it in a small or medium backpack. Maybe that's food for thought on that.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think there's a lot of options there. But okay, so toggling that is a big thing. You know, let's see if we can make it to where players can choose themselves. I think that's a simple. That's not an outstanding, like an absurd request. I think in today's age where there's so many add-ons and modifiers and things like that you can download for so many different MMOs to really customize the look and feel yourself, I think that's possible. I do think that Pantheon's going to offer the opportunity for you to, I guess you could say, make the UI yourself, or make the UI how you would like it to look. That's not saying they're going to make add-ons for the game. I'm saying just, again, making the cosmetic look of it different. Like, you may be able to customize a UI for your liking, for your taste, for your flavor, how you want to do it. But that's not saying they're going to make an add-on that's going to sort everything for you or do anything for you, something like that. No, I'm just talking about the cosmetic appeal for it. So I do like toggling items. I do like finding ways to limit some of the kind of nuances that were of the old days. And then at the same time, I know this is weird, at the same time, some of those frustrations, some of those nuances, some of those things that really kind of drove me crazy, I kind of enjoyed, the fact that they drove me crazy. It just reminded me, I guess you could say, it had the nostalgia feeling to it. It was just entertaining, I guess, at times to try to find ways to work that system. At the same note, I think we can improve it, nowadays. I think that we can find a way to enhance that, to make it to where, if you really want that, if that was the way that you enjoyed it and you want that to be the way you enjoy it going forward, have a way to toggle it. I'm not saying that's a bad way of doing it, but I do think there are better ways to do it now. So, okay, cool. So bags, spaces, things like that. Having ways to easily open and close all your bag items, your slots, or identify them. Weight reduction, potentially being something you want to see. Yeah, I think of, when it comes to quality of life improvements, those make sense to me. And when I think of the friend list, guild list, when I think of blacklist, when I think of looking for new friends and looking for group, these type of things, I do think these are on the mind. All these things are on the minds of the devs, but I do think that these are very important quality of life improvements going forward. I think that they'll help bring the community together as a whole. And I like them a lot. I like the thought that, if these are implemented the correct way, that you will see, I guess you could say, you will see a lot of benefits from them as a player. And that's encouraging to me. I think that that's something we can look forward to, hopefully. So on that note, we're getting close on time here, Dave, for the podcast portion. So I wanted to say, we have about 5 minutes or so, and we got to wrap this up. Is there any one thing really quickly that you have on your list that you're like, I got to mention this?
Well, yeah, I know it's been mentioned before, and I think in the recent streams, there's an icon on the board that, from my perspective, shows that they're working on it, but a weapon swap system. I can tell you one person in your group or in your raid that is going to benefit the most, and that is the off take. Having to unequip a one-handed or a two-handed weapon and then quickly open up your bag to grab a one-handed weapon to put into that slot, and then having to pick up the shield to put in the slot just so you can tank. It's very time-consuming, and a lot of times is the reason why people die is because it takes a couple of minutes to do that. Having a system in place that you can click a button or you click an icon on the screen that lets you quickly swap from a two-handed weapon to one-handed shield, so you can just be there to pick up that mob if you have to off tank, is a huge quality of life improvement that I know that they've mentioned. It looks like they're working on, but that has to be the one quality of life feature that I feel like needs to be in the game.
This is coming from a tank, no doubt.
Yes. I mean, it kind of, the need for that type of quality of life improvement kind of falls short on other classes, but from an off-tank perspective, that saves me time. That allows me to quickly pick up that mob, and hopefully no one dies in the process. Whereas in EverQuest, I remember having to constantly swap stuff out. It takes a couple of minutes because you're also trying to build up hate. You're taking more damage while you're swapping stuff out. It was just a huge annoyance. It took time to do, and it was annoying. I eventually got to the point where I didn't, if I knew that I might have to off tank, I didn't even bother putting on a two-handed sword. I just stayed with one-handed shield. And for a paladin back then, two-handed weapon was more damage than I could do with a one-handed shield. And the raid suffered from just that little bit of DPS. I mean, I'm not a DPS class. I get that. But any amount of DPS helps where it's needed. But when those moments pop up where you need to quickly switch to tank, and you know it's going to take a minute or two to do, that's a minute or two that someone could die.
Well, yeah, and I think the conversation there, and I know that it's been brought up before, leads into, how much can you swap during combat? That was another conversation for, another day. But I do agree with you, and I'm not saying that I won't go into the in or out of combat conversation because we're running out of time here. But I will say, absolutely having a way to switch items in and out easily, having a way to preset some sort of load, in my mind, is a huge quality of life improvement. If you're a tank or an off tank, and you know that you're going to be a main tank for that particular run, we'll say raid, dungeon, whatever it is, you're going to switch from being an off tank primarily to a main tank. You want to maybe switch out a few items to enhance your defense versus enhancing your attack, before you go into combat. Then I think having a way to pre-identify those and to be able to set that up so that you don't have to go through and individually swap out each piece of gear with the risk of maybe missing one item or something like that. I think that that's something that I see as a quality of life improvement, an addition that has been beneficial in other games to me. So I like that thought, and I do think that having a way to switch your weapons out very easily is also a quality of life improvement as well. So yeah, I think that those are great. I don't disagree with that at all. Now, the later conversation, and we'll go into this, after the podcast here, is actually for everybody that wants to stick around on Twitch, you're more than welcome to. But me and Day, I want to ask you about the in combat, out of combat for the gear and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that here in a second. With that, I'm going to put it on pause. Guys, I've got to end the podcast. So for everybody on PantheonRadio.com, thank you all for hanging out with us, for tuning in. Do want to remind you right now, make sure you go over to PantheonRadio.com/treasure hunt. Check out that giveaway, that contest that they're doing. Again, $300 Amazon gift card online for anybody. It's first come, first serve. First one to get all 8 words, put them in a meaningful sentence, and send those over to Pantheon Radio will be the prize winner. It's not something that, it could last a week, it could last a day, it could last a month. Who knows when everybody will get all these words together. But again, go over to pantheonradio.com/treasure hunt. Check that out. The contest or the competition starts at noon Eastern tomorrow. I'm excited about it. I'm going to be doing my best to participate in this one as well. So best of luck to everyone out there that does that. Again, thank you all for tuning in tonight on Pantheon Radio. I really appreciate it. Everybody on Twitch, if you can hang out with me for just 1 minute, I'm going to go ahead and let everybody on Pantheon Radio go, but we're going to hang out for a little bit. I got some more questions to ask Day, so hang on.